I'm finally being introduced to the new Hollywood.
Yeah.
This is the new.
This is the new Hollywood. It's not great. What's the name of this again? Sal, we're starting now. What's the name of what we're doing again?
We're doing a closer look out of office.
A closer look out of office.
You had another name which I did really like. Your name that you pitched was a closer look proof of life.
Yes.
To show people that we're still alive. Kind of like the way Mitch McConnell releases a new photo.
This is cruel and unusual for me because you are in my New York podcast studio.
You
were living the good life.
I'm in your little bat cave right now.
You're in my little bat cave.
Yeah. I don't know if
everything's set up. Nothing moves day to day. Meanwhile, because I'm away for the summer with my family, I carry around my podcast equipment basically in a hobo's bindle. Just cords and wires. My takeaway is it's just, you can have a podcast or you can have a life. The two do not go together.
And you travel from studio via railroad, right? Like you jump on boxcar. You jump on a boxcar.
Seppi. That's what they call me in the podcast world.
I have never actually been back here in this space. For people who may not know, and you may not, in case you're not watching. So Seth has a dressing room, and then there's just like a little door that seems inconspicuous. It just says wardrobe or something like that. And then you open it, and it leads to this wood-paneled, immaculately clean space with a nice desk, quiet. You should have like a little piano where you have to play 3 discordant notes to pop it open, like Batman.
I'm so upset you're in there. Let me just stress.
This is Mom Donnie's New York.
This is an absolute violation to me. Right, exactly. I tried to have it's called a pas-de-terre. A pas-de-terre. No, a pas-de-terre is when you have a podcast studio that you are not actually at.
The pied-à-terre tax is a tax. The pas-de-terre tax is that I get to just come in and use it whenever I want.
Yes. I mean, I guess I shouldn't complain because we're doing this podcast together. So the purpose of this was because we're on a longer hiatus than usual, we thought, what if we jumped on and talked about all the stories that we would have talked about if we had our show?
Yes, exactly.
So you were very smart. And you said, well, let's just not try to be like day to day like we are with a normal closer look. Yeah. Let's try to lay out stuff that happened, a week ago, 2 weeks ago that we think is fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you think now the press should stop doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner after we know the president put them all on a plane that was a decoy plane? So the president was in a different plane because it was too dangerous to be on the plane that the press was on.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, this story, I thought we'd heard everything that was great about, not great, let me stress, none of it's great. We had heard all the craziest details about President Trump leaving Turkey on the old Air Force One.
Yeah.
And yet it turns out that he moved to a decoy. He moved to another plane. The press and some of his staff were on a plane, assuming he was on that plane. He wasn't on that plane because it wasn't safe to be on that plane.
Yes, that's right. In fact, he hid in a catering cart to go from the decoy plane to where he would actually fly from. So my answer to your question would be, I think they should only do it, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, if everybody can fit into the catering cart and do it there.
I will say, if it was fun, if it was a good-natured thing, it would be very fun if he said he wasn't coming and then a big catering truck drove down the middle aisle and they played just like rock and roll music and he came out of the back. Do you know how? I will say this: do you know how real the risk has to be to also risk letting him just let run wild in a catering truck?
I don't know if this is in the article, but reportedly it was only a 5-minute walk from one plane to the other. But reportedly he was in there for 24 hours.
Yeah,
they couldn't get him out of the catering. They couldn't get him out of the catering cart.
Yeah, he kept saying he had to finish inventory, which seems like it should be somebody else's job. Now, this is also strange because he did say at the time that he was going to fly back because he didn't want to admit that there was safety issues with the new Qatari plane.
Yeah.
He said he was flying back on the original Air Force One, his words, for old time's sake.
Yeah.
Now, you are famously skeptical of the president, Sal, but I do remember when he said that, that was the one thing that you believed him on. I remember you at work full-throatedly saying, I'm a nostalgic man as well. I totally believe he flew back on the old plane for old time's sake.
Yes, absolutely. I always ask if I can, when I book a flight, I always ask if I can fly Pan Am because I'm nostalgic. I want to, I completely, that's the one thing I understand. He also, like, I ask if I can smoke on the plane. I don't smoke in real life, but I ask if I can smoke.
Yeah, and the NBC travel agents have requested they no longer book your flights because I've heard you on the phone angrily saying, but how much was it on Pan Am?
Yes. Okay, so you're telling me it's a $300 round trip from here to Miami-Dade, but on Pan Am it was $25 and I could smoke whenever I wanted to.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, remember the other thing Trump said was that the reason he wasn't taking the new plane is that he wanted troops stationed in Britain to be able to see it.
Yes. Yeah. And he said something like, everyone's so happy to see the plane. Yeah.
Which again, I also like. I remember it was because again, look, even I, jaded as I may be, would love to see the inside of the new Qatari plane.
Sure. Yeah,
if they were like doing a tour, I would say great. But like they weren't going to let him walk inside.
No.
It was just going to be like you would look at a plane from the outside that you could also see pictures of.
Just see it from the outside. Go, there's that plane. I wish we could be there. It's like giving people a golden ticket to only stand outside the chocolate factory and look at it.
Oh my God, you're right. That's exactly. Oh my God, the golden ticket. You get to go to the front. You get to be at the front of the gate.
Yeah.
You get to press your face against the gate. When does it open? It never opens.
By the way, we can hear a vacuum cleaner, I think, behind you.
So, yes, and that's going to be going for a while. So, again, I think the Trump administration is on to us. They sent a vacuum. You know what vacuum it is? It's the ghost of Chuck Grassley's vacuum. The thing I'll say is I apologize about the vacuum. This is the first time we're doing this, and I'm hoping if it doesn't end in a minute, I'm going to do something.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm fine. I mean, I'm fine with it because it does prove that
I'm raising 3 children in a studio apartment. How long can it take?
It's one of them vacuuming, right? Your kids are I'm not
gonna have anybody vacuum other than my children. I mean, it's the first one, you guys.
Yeah, it's the first one. It's fine. It's fine. That's what this is for. Yeah, great.
I will say I saw the headline about Chuck Grassley's beloved vacuum cleaner passing on to wherever vacuum cleaners go.
Yeah.
And couldn't bring myself to read it. Like
there's some you have to skip over.
Yeah, that's the least amount of given I could have for a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also like an older time of DC where everybody cared that like an old senator had a beloved vacuum.
In the 90s, that would have been a great 90s story.
Yeah. I feel like I'm happy that story sort of came and went without Trump like blaming the death of the vacuum cleaner.
The vacuum cleaner is dead. Good. I'm glad it's dead.
Yeah, right.
It can no longer hurt innocent people.
Yeah. Anyway, so that
I mean, especially when the president of the United States is currently selling early access to his Truth Social posts to investors so they can get a head start on the market. It's hard to find room in your head for
unless he was, unless all of a sudden like a half hour before you and I knew, he said just got Senator Grassley a new Roomba. Great product, and then we rushed to go buy Roomba stock, and it's already through the roof.
Yeah.
We didn't pay for the early access.
We're rolling in Roomba money right now.
Yeah, we wish.
Oh my God! Imagine having Roomba money.
So there's so many things. We kind of picked 3-4 things, but
yeah. Well, I made this giant list because that's just like what I like to do.
You're a list guy.
I made this giant list of things that we have missed. Some of them we don't have to go through it. But then we picked like 2 or 3 things that we thought would be fun to kind of actually like dig into.
Yeah. Todd Blanche got confirmed as Attorney General. And
yes.
Did you enjoy Did you, Sal Gentile, enjoy the dance, the Senator Cassidy dance, where he really let us all know how conflicted he was until 100% falling in line?
Yes, he told us that he was very close to voting no. That's like he told us all the stuff that weighed in the no column, and then he was like, "But ultimately, I'm a yes."
But ultimately, I'm a yes.
Which is always how you want to tell somebody how you made a decision.
It would make for uninspiring wedding vows. Where you're like, I want to start by saying, ultimately, I do.
Yeah.
But I would.
I'm
love
an I
to,
do today.
I'm an I do today. After weeks of deliberation, I'm fully I doing. I had to, buddy. I don't know if I told you this terrible news that we had to cancel a family vacation.
No.
Yeah, we were going to take the kids to the Strait of Hormuz, and they just don't. The travel agent finally said, like, I just wouldn't risk it because obviously you want to bring the kids when it's open.
Yes.
You know what I mean. You
Totally.
don't want a Wally World situation where you pull up and you're like, why is there such? Good
And then
parking?
you have to but then you have to break in and you have to be on an oil tanker just by yourself.
Yeah. But yeah, because obviously, and at one point, our travel agent was like, "Look, Trump says it's going to be open tomorrow." So we obviously were going on the good word of the president of the United States, and then finally they called and they're like, "I think at this point, you shouldn't risk it."
Right, because so you were probably planning that vacation. That was probably like a week ago. You probably got the word that he was like, "It's going to be open in a day or two." So you're like, "Great."
A day or two. He said tomorrow or the next day. So
yes, he said tomorrow or
yes.
the next day. So we're like, "Great, we'll book our flight for tomorrow or the next day," which is how you book flights, and then you're going to go to the Strait of Hormuz, and then the travel agent is just like,
well, the thing is, you don't, and you want to bring them when they're young, when they're not jaded. In a couple of years, when they're teenagers, they're going to be like, I don't want to see some dumb strait. I want to be at the beach. And like this, they're still at the age where they like seeing tankers.
Yes, that's right. Because you were weighing Legoland and the Strait of Hormuz, and you guys picked Strait of Hormuz. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now Legoland, I guess, is having a tariff issue.
Well, a bunch of funny things happen in that where, so I guess Iran said at some point, they're like, you know what? We're done. We're not dealing with Trump anymore until he's out of office. Like, we can't, because I think my theory on the thing that I think is really like, obviously it's horrific and this is an illegal, horrific war, but like the thing that Trump has run into is that for his entire life, his entire political career, and his entire life in general, he's surrounded by like normal, well-adjusted people who are all just like, fine, how do I get through my day? Like, just like accommodating this psycho. And I'll just like, he's insane. And he finally ran into somebody who's just not going to do that. Like, Iran is not going to be like, fine, just shut up, stop talking. We'll open the Strait of Hormuz, like, for you.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. The one thing that Trump might be right about with Iran is that they're hard to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And which, by the way, I think famously, we all kind of knew.
Yes. Was kind of the whole point in the beginning of Obama constructing this elaborate agreement.
Yeah, he's like,
that
I
took
think if we
tons
put
of
10
diplomatic
years
work
into it,
and negotiation, and that was kind of the whole point. And everybody on Earth kind of understood that the reason for that was because it might be difficult to deal with this regime.
Yeah,
otherwise.
It might be. And then again, however difficult the last guy was to deal with, the one thing Trump had going for him is that he hadn't killed his dad. You know what I mean? The one thing that's different. I mean, again, I'm sure there's tons of differences between father and son, but the one thing that's definitely true of the current guy is that Trump killed his dad.
Yes.
So that's kind of hanging over negotiations.
That's just very hard. I mean, it would have been very difficult to start a chain of successful bookstores if Barnes had killed Noble's dad.
Yeah.
You can't. I think after that would have been very difficult.
At that point, you would get why Noble's like, maybe we might start working with Borders. Barnes and Borders.
Barnes and Borders.
I also like that it's true. Iran said they want compensation for the war, and Trump countered that actually we want compensation for the war. And I do, again, I haven't read The Art of the Deal, but I would be surprised if there was a chapter on the best way to negotiate is just immediately take whatever position they show up with.
That's the other. So there's two ways to go into marriage vows that are really bad. One
Yeah.
is like to start with all the no's.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
the
Let
other
me tell
is
you
to,
how I got to yes.
Yeah. But then the other way that's bad is to go in waiting to see what they say first. And then
Right.
countering. Like
Yeah.
if they're I don't know. Like I also doubt that there's an entire chapter on just the Uno reverse card. Because that's basically what it is. He's just like,
It
well,
is
actually
now,
I'm
you're
doing
right.
that.
It is like they took out all the Uno cards except the reverse card.
He has just a
It's
pile
just
of
a
reverse
deck of
cards.
reverse cards, and
Yeah.
it's two people playing reverse Uno. Um,
It's that thing. Have you ever had this with your kids where you're playing Uno with them and like you can't really shuffle the deck because it's like they want to play again, or so the deck gets shuffled really poorly. I have had times where I'm playing with my son and we will have like 3 reverses in a row
Yeah.
because the deck is not shuffled properly, and I can't teach him. It takes too long, the exposition, to teach the value of shuffling the deck properly to make the game fair and interesting. Like,
right.
So, it's
So
just
you
like, fine, I
instead what
gather
you
up the
teach him
cards.
is you're like this is the current state of foreign negotiations. in
This
your
is how
country.
we do the reverses, and then I say, if you're ever in a situation where you're dealing with the Ayatollah, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we do have the. Wait. I feel like. Is this where we're going to put the title card? You know what? Let's do it.
Yeah,
We'll talk about
let's-
a
Yeah.
few of these stories on this episode of A Closer Look. Out of Office. That's great.
Great.
By the way, whatever you guys just saw
Okay.
for a title card, I have not seen yet. So, but knowing our team, pretty
Yeah.
excited.
I'm going to venture a guess and say it's not super dissimilar from what the regular Closer Look title card looks like.
All right, I'm gonna go way out on a limb and say it's like crazy expensive animation.
We
see.
contracted Lucasfilm to make it. I don't know. This is
They're
the only
also
time we were-
on hiatus, so they were like, "Yeah, man, we loved it."
Yeah.
All right, what are we gonna talk about first, Sal?
I picked one that I thought was just fun because not fun. I guess it's fun.
I general like this is the thing. This is the caveat. Every time Sal and I say something is fun, it's not,
It's not fun.
None of this
It's
is
not
fun.
None
is
of this is
just-
fun. Yes,
In
we're having
the
fun
grand
with it.
scheme of things. Yes.
Yes. We're trying to survive by having fun with things.
There
that
you
are not
go.
Fun.
There you
yes, exactly. So there's already a foodborne illness circulating
Yep.
throughout. Which who could have predicted that slashing the FDA and public health systems would have led to a massive foodborne illness? But there's already cyclospora, explosive diarrhea. We've had a lot of fun with it on the show, even though again it's probably not fun for the people who have explosive diarrhea.
No. It's a
yeah.
new. I guess next summer it's going to be Cyclospora is going to be a ride at Six Flags.
Yeah. Right. Yes. It's
Yeah.
a water slide. Yeah.
There's a water slide. And I
But
guess
so-
you go down, and you're on a coaster that goes into the water, and you go through a giant head of iceberg lettuce, and it just
You have-
explodes, and then you go in the water.
The iceberg lettuce explodes or you explode.
No, the iceberg lettuce. You're fine.
Okay.
It's come on.
Okay.
These are theme parks. You're not.
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
explode.
yeah. You don't want
You're having
people
fun.
to explode. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Okay. But so I thought this was remarkable that like only a few weeks into one foodborne illness circulating widely throughout the country, we have another one. So we have a clip about that we're going to watch really quick just to explain.
The CDC says a salmonella outbreak linked to jalapenos served at Chipotle and Qdoba is expanding. According to the agency, more than 300 people have gotten sick across 27 states. Officials say public health systems that track and respond to these kinds of outbreaks are just stretched too thin.
The guy I feel the worst for is the guy who was like, fine, who made the decision in time to stop eating at Taco Bell and switch to Qdoba.
Yeah. I also feel I always love those moments where it's a shot of people eating at Qdoba. Like now, you don't see their faces, but there's that one shot of people. I just like that someone said like the news comes over and is like, hey man, mind if I get a quick shot of your jalapeno? They're like, yeah, what's it for? Watch the news tonight.
I hope it's for the award for eating the most Qdoba.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. We're big Qdoba fans. We're going to be in it, right? And he's like, meanwhile, he's framing out their heads. He's like, yeah.
He's making sure there's room to put explosive diarrhea at the bottom of the shot.
So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And Sal, look, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pat you on the back. You kind of called this.
Yes.
I mean, again, it visually will look like I called it, but this is your script.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, like, I think a lot of people could have called this. I don't even think Kalshi was taking bets on
No,
whether or not Salmonella was coming.
I was gonna say there's one of two options. Either we have like incredible clairvoyant powers, or it was incredibly obvious that this was gonna happen. So I think it's probably the latter.
Yep.
But nonetheless, we just weeks ago had made a joke that predicted this.
Yes. So that if Cyclospora was here, and based on this current our Health and Human Services, our the people in charge of these kind of things, how much they love cutting back, how little they seem to like paying attention. Here you go. Here's what Sal put in the Closer Look a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yep.
Trump said he was going to bring down the price of lettuce, and not only is it more expensive, it could also give you explosive diarrhea.
We're bringing back the germs. We're bringing them back very strongly. E. coli, Listeria, Cyclospora, that's the new one. Salmonella, we love Salmonella. His full name is Salvatore Angelo Manila. He's a bookie from Staten Island. He's best friends with Rudy Giuliani.
There you go.
I also will say that part of it was prediction. Part of it was just that I'm always stretching for a reason to use that picture of Rudy.
Yes. And the
Yes.
fact that the extra bonus that you got to use your full given name, Salvatore.
My full given name is Salvatore Angelo Manella. so, and people are always...
It wouldn't be awesome if it was called Sal Gentilla.
And I had to constantly tell people, like...
That's knowing how, Trump's a late night head. I think he probably knows the writing staffs by name. I think whenever he says, whenever he watches A Closer Look that irks him, he says he's got a bad case of Sal Gentilla.
And that's why he was in the catering cart for 24 hours.
Yeah. He was hiding from it. That's just, so anyway, that's fun. And,
That's just
but
fun.
Don't worry. That's but look, RFK Jr. on top of that. So,
Yes, absolutely.
Any day now.
Yeah. Definitely that, and not splitting up the MMR vaccine into 3 different doses because Trump thinks, quote, we're pumping babies full of vats of liquid like horses.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be doing the latter.
A Diet Coke size can of vaccine.
He definitely thinks that's the smallest size that liquid comes in, is Diet Coke
Well, I also think the
size.
problem is I think he drinks Diet Coke like it's a vaccine.
Yeah.
So it gets all. It's like a catch-all vaccine.
Yeah, it does. He does think it protects him from salmonella. That's why he's not worried about it. Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, so I want to say, because we're going to talk about the reflecting poll next.
Yeah.
And there's some people who I follow online, people I respect, who are like, I can't believe we're talking about the reflecting poll as much as we are, right? Like there are bigger issues. But I will say, one, there's obviously a lot of very rich details in this story.
Mm-hmm.
It is an incredible representation of what the Trump government does. I mean, it is this White House to a T. Like from Secretary of the Interior to the Justice Department to Donald Trump to punishing political enemies, like every part of it, to cronyism and kickbacks and so again, like sometimes I think we're not just focusing on it because it's funny that the pool sucks.
I mean, here's the thing. It is funny that the pool sucks.
It is funny that the pool sucks, but
but everything you've said is completely true. He gave out a no-bid contract to a contractor who he pretended did an amazing job, arrested somebody to blame for the fact that his Justice Department later revealed the contractor he gave the no-bid contract to actually it up and lied about it and persecuted somebody to lie about it. And everybody in his administration got in on the lie. It reminds me of, there's like a couple different instances of this. Actually, the very first one it reminds me of, which is the inauguration photo from 2016.
Yeah.
The saying that like the saying the crowd was the largest ever, even though the photos were like there was like nobody there.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. It was visuals, which is why it was such a big thing, and it encapsulated so quickly so much about the administration, and also he dragged a bunch of other people into the lie. Like the press secretary was out there lying about it. People doing interviews claiming that it was the largest ever, and it's like these kind of like visual representations of what Trump government and incompetence and corruption are like happen every so often, and that's why they catch on.
Right. And every time, too, there's this idea. The reason we're not letting it go is they're not letting it go.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
I think we very happily, and again, it's never going to happen, and I'm not saying I was waiting for it to happen. You know, because again, even once, Jeanine Pirro dropped these charges, which we'll get to, you know, he's still like, 3 hours later, he's still angry about it again. He can't.
Yes.
So here's my one question, Sal. I was thinking about this. Do you think one of the reasons he was really zeroed in on, is it David Hearn? Is that the name of the Olympic canoeist?
Yeah.
Is that he kept seeing pictures of him in a canoe from the Olympics, and he thought, do you think in Trump's mind he did it from a canoe? That he was in a canoe in the reflecting pool, and that's... Because I will say, again, like an Olympic canoeist, the photos are, again, they're so good. They look, there's an aggression to the way they're canoeing.
Yes.
I really do think in his head, if we could picture what he was thinking, it's a guy in a canoe just like grabbing a piece of plaster and just like ripping down 350 feet.
I also think it's really funny to imagine somebody watching the actual Olympics and thinking that the canoeing is vandalism. It's so aggressive that they're destroying the river. Look at these vandals. But I do think that's absolutely possible. I think that's
one of the reasons where he was just obsessed with this one guy.
Yeah. Also, that he probably is envious of the fact that he could not probably be in a canoe himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always says when they go, would you like to do that? He always says, I cannot canoe. He always, I think, and again, Sal, don't roll your eyes. He's the guy who loves wordplay. He's always like, canoe, I cannot. That's just one of his things. That's, I think, in Latin on the back of the Trump coin. So much more to say. There's a great article, which I highly recommend in the New York Times. Go check it out because it's great reporting about everything that happened at the reflecting pool. And there's a sentence that is just so wonderful because, I don't know, like the names of the companies involved are the names of companies where things, again, maybe these companies are great, but it's so funny. I wish I'd written the sentence to address this problem. Creative Polymers partnered with Rhino Linings.
Incredible. Rhino.
And then later, neither Rhino Linings nor Mr. Schutzenhofer answered questions. It's like a sketch. It's like an old Bob and Ray sketch. And now joining us is Mr. Schutzenhofer from Rhino Linings.
It sounds like a live ad from a 50s, like a black and white,
it's like when I hosted, right? It's like if I had hosted Late Night in 1955, I'd be like, and now a word from Rhino Linings.
Exactly, Mr. I only I only smoke pure unfiltered rhinos.
I use Rhino unlined. Also, making matters worse, the algae returned with a vengeance, turning large portions of the pool bright green. One reason, the nano bubblers had been removed when the Lincoln Memorial hosted a promotional event for the Ultimate Fighting Championship bouts at the White House. So again, like everything's connected.
Yes.
Even the UFC fight leads to what's going wrong at the reflecting pool. The reflecting pool, everything about it is rushed because nobody, and this, by the way, again, are we hard on him? Of course. Nobody knew the nation's 250th anniversary was coming up. There was no way of knowing. Everybody found out like 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
There was a real like, oh, dude. But it's just crazy. All right, do we have? I think we have some clips though for people just to like fully line up how this is all broken down in the last couple of weeks.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to play the clip of them. I just think it's amazing the explanation they give. So let's play clip 2A because that just kind of explains how this all kind of resolved.
They have dropped their much-hyped case against the former Olympian David Hearn, who was charged in connection with this damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. The DOJ has a new filing that states it's become aware of information showing that the damage was the result of a botched installation and not vandalism.
So the reason why I picked that clip is because I just think the specific phrasing of "we have become aware of information recently" that it was actually that we up and not the canoeist.
Yeah. It turns out it's more likely that when Donald Trump hires a guy who did a pool at Mar-a-Lago, that might lead to a pool as opposed to a man in a canoe.
Yes, it's more likely that if Trump hires a guy who did his pool at Mar-a-Lago, B, a pool that he originally thought about turning turquoise like it was in the Bahamas, is what his account of it
Had
was.
to get talked out of turquoise.
Had to get talked out of turquoise. Got sold on American flag blue or whatever they called it. 3, repeatedly called it the reflecting pond or lake, and then insisted that that is what other people call it as well. Then drove over it himself with a motorcade. Then refilled it, had it covered in algae. To get rid of the algae, poured hydrogen peroxide into the pool, which then tore off the lining. That's more likely that all of that resulted maybe in the damage to the pool instead of the canoeist who came to check out the pool, the former Olympian.
The other thing, of course, was, again, in 2026, at a tourist destination, the idea that someone could make a 350-foot gash in a reflecting pool with no visual evidence.
Yes. Well, that's okay. So then let's just play that clip. Let's go straight to because that's also really because they kept saying it was a 350-foot gash. Doug Burgum, the Interior Secretary, went on TV multiple times.
Who we've said it before, sounds like a curse a old prospector would say if his mule wasn't moving. Doug Burgum. Doug Burgum, we got somewhere to be.
So that's that he repeatedly went, and he was asked, he was there, they were like, it's a 350-foot gash. And then he did an interview, which I almost picked this clip, but we didn't put it in, but he did an interview where he said, at one point, one interview, somebody asked him like 350-foot gash, and he's like, yeah, well, they did, the Vandals, they did this 350 gash. Another interview, they asked him, I think it was Stephanopoulos asked him, so it's so you say it's Vandals. They're like, yeah, they made the gash. And he's like, but it's 350 feet. And he's like, well, it's multiple gashes that add up to 350 feet. He's like, we measured each gash, and we had a like old timey calculator that spits out paper. And it's like, oh, we got it's 350, the number of gashes. But so this
that would
is
be
Trump.
Like if I was like, I ran a marathon, and you were like, oh, when? And I was like, from June of 23 to yesterday.
I ran 10 feet every time. Yeah. But so this is Trump talking about, so Jeanine Pirro announced the charges. She went along with it. Like we were saying, everybody in the administration went along with this. They actually arrested and indicted somebody. They put this in front of a grand jury. They actually arrested somebody.
And by the way, let's just say real quick, it is so evil and wrong to arrest people. The government arrested American citizens for something they knew wasn't true.
Yes, exactly.
And by the way, we're all happy now that they're going to get off, but they had legal bills. They're never going to get their money back for this. Whatever. And by the way, as they're out, talking about the importance of this January 6th, this fund, restitution, they don't consider it for these people. These, veterinarians, former Olympians, their lives have been with.
Yes, absolutely.
Because of this, for no reason, because we're dealing with a deeply unfit person. Yes, absolutely. It's like you said. It's exactly. It is emblematic of everything
that this administration does, including persecuting its political enemies and using the Justice Department as a weapon, both to cover up incompetence and also to persecute people who call out the incompetence. Because all David Hurd did was like go there, and then he just wanted to see. He was like, "It's
He
up,
didn't
right?"
even call it out. He just picked it up.
He did.
You know what I mean? Like he didn't go to the press. It was just a big old floating piece of paint.
Yeah. You're allowed to pick up a big floating piece of paint if you see a
veteran.
big
A woman was a veterinarian. She goes, "I took it out because I was worried. I think she was worried like a duck was going to choke on it."
Yeah. By the
You know
way,
what I mean?
yes, I'm pretty sure the hydrogen peroxide has killed wildlife in the reflecting pool.
Oh, definitely.
So
The next
it's
time
a
we drain
legitimate
it, it's just
concern.
going to be like 1,000 duck corpses.
It's a complete duck.
Just a duck graveyard. And then Trump's going to blame it on the ducks. He's like,
The duck bones are clogging the filter.
We need to bring duck bone linings incorporated. We're bringing in to get let's get rid of the duck line.
We're bringing in Duck Duck Goose. They're a great bone removal company. They remove the bones of fowls.
Gives a no bid contract to a duck bone removal company. But so this is now Trump talking about. So Pirro, by the way, she went out of her way to say that like they have evidence that this happened. When she announced the charges, like the evidence will prove. A month later, they're like, okay, actually, you know what? We like there's some new information has been presented to us, and then Trump, as you said, won't let it go. That's why. That's a big part. Like, they act like everyone else is crazy when you're just reacting to the president of the United States who continues to insist on absurd lies. And then we all just react like normal people to those absurd lies. And they go, why are you fixating on these absurd lies? It's like, you're the one who keeps doing it. So then after Pirro.
Again, by the way, I'd rather he fixate on negotiations with Iran.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather he fixate it. I'd rather he fixate on something that he didn't up, fixing something. I'd rather he had not.
Well, good. Let me know when you find one.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm being too picky. Like, right. But nonetheless, or anything like regulating AI, like public expanding healthcare access, like ridiculous pipe dream things that we, idealists like me think about every day. But
I can't believe we haven't beaten that out of you, Sal.
It'll happen.
It's really
one
something
day.
how it persists, how your optimism persists, your idealism.
Yeah, I think when we find the duck bones at the bottom of the Lincoln Pool, that's when we'll finally
Their
beat
skulls. Their skulls are the wood can't pass through the filter.
the Vandals put duck bone skulls.
The duck skulls of the Biden administration.
And then they all go on TV and they're all like, Doug Burns on TV. It's like, we've had to deal with 4 years of Biden allowing duck bones to build up at the bottom of the.
Well, look, we'd love to get to the duck bones from our administration, but the pileup of the duck bones in the Biden administration, nobody was even, when you look back, they weren't even talking about duck bones.
Yeah.
And so obviously we got a fair amount of duck bones to clear.
We inherited the worst duck skull crisis in American history. We're still digging ourselves out of it. Okay, so let's play this clip of Trump continuing to talk about it afterward. That's clip 2C.
Jeanine Pirro made a mistake. There was vandalism. We have photographs or tapes, like moving cameras, right? We have them where people are on the side cutting it with a box knife, and they cut all the way along the base. Cut. And frankly, I think she choked.
Yeah, to your point, he is insisting that it's continuing this lie that there's 350 feet total worth of gashes, and that they were like individually cutting like gashes, and somehow that's not that he claims that's been captured by moving images.
Yes,
by moving images. Which,
so moving it like tapes.
I'm glad he very thankful he explained, because at first I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
The chef's kiss was he gestures towards a camera.
Yeah.
He literally points towards a television camera.
I can't
in
remember.
case the reporters don't know where moving takes
But
place.
also apparently doesn't recall what it's called. He doesn't say
moving
we have.
pictures, like
yeah,
tape.
he said points to the camera. So he said we have moving pictures. Like
Yeah.
he's like he's still in that like the sort of the like the horse galloping. He's
Yeah.
he's
Right.
thinking of
That's-
that.
Yeah. Where it goes
Yeah.
around in a circle. Yeah. I
Yes.
feel like I
So
should
in
know. Zoetrope?
his. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Don't
He's
just
like.
yeah. Me if I nailed it. Give me some credit. You're the one who
I
brings
actually
up the
don't.
horse.
Well, I don't know if you nailed it. So I was trying to kind of be ambivalent.
No, we'll find out. Sound off in the comments.
Yes.
We know.
Yes,
we
we're
have,
gonna find
We know
out.
we have viewers who are happy to do that. Oh, the other thing, Sal, I wanted to ask, and you probably, I don't know if you've seen this on social media. He also says that he said that Jeanine Pirro folded like an umbrella.
Yes.
Now, would we have? The question is, would we have played our montage of Donald Trump having trouble folding an umbrella in a closer look? The question is it too on the nose? Would we have actually said, you know what? We don't want to do something that the audience is already waiting for us to do. But it would have been tough.
It would have been irresistible. It would have been very difficult to resist. Yeah. I think that's the big question.
You know what? Just while we talk about this, just as B-roll, well, let's just roll it over. Let's just roll
Donald
Trump.
Just
so
put
you can watch
that in
it.
there. So
for
you know what it
anybody
is. I doubt you
Yeah.
haven't seen. I doubt
you
anybody
haven't seen
watching
it.
this hasn't.
But
seen
it is when you're watching this. Know that I would say if you're a man that this has ever happened to, I would never use the expression "folded like an umbrella."
You're not allowed to accuse people of folding like an umbrella if you can't fold an umbrella. No. Yeah.
Well, the other thing
you
is
can't call people like you can't say like crumpled like a cheap suit if you've never worn a suit before.
Well, the other thing is because he says she folded like an umbrella, and we see how he folds an umbrella, he might be using it in a different way, right? He might be like, 1 minute she's okay with it, the next minute she's against it. A minute later she's happy, then she's gonna, you can't find her.
Right. He might think he might think folding is like an impossible feat. So he's like folded like.
He might be giving her a compliment. He might be.
Yes, he might give her a compliment.
She folded like an umbrella, which is like it's the undoable task.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like to him, it's painting the Sistine Chapel. Yeah. Like, let's just say we folded the umbrella. Like,
we definitely would have used it. We definitely would have used it.
All right, I think we've proved that we would have used it.
But my final thought on this is just that it's so funny. Because you were talking about like why are people fixating it? We talked about all the reasons why people are interested in this story, why it's caught on. In fact, you wrote in a thing that I thought was really funny and observant, which is that J.D. Vance said this thing, which was like Watergate would be like a 24-hour news story now.
Yeah.
And then you added this thing, which is because Water Green is still a 4-week news story right now. Yeah. But it's true. And I think it's because, A, of everything you said, which is that encapsulates everything about the incompetence and the corruption of the Trump administration in one story. But also there's this like weird reversal now where it used to be that you would get in trouble for hiding things that people couldn't see. And now, you would get in trouble. Yeah. How did I want to phrase this? I had this whole thing, Matt. Oh, man.
Well, no. Don't be hard on yourself. This is like folding an umbrella, like what you're trying to do right now.
Sorry. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's the impossible task.
It's the Gordian knot.
Yes. To him, it's like that Good Will Hunting equation. Like, she finally folded the umbrella, and he's like, who's this
good?
genius?
Yeah, in Goodwill Trumping, it's just an umbrella on a table. And then the teacher comes in the next day, and it's like all folded up, the snaps on it. He's like, huh? The janitor?
The janitor folded the umbrella. I think the reversal I was going to say is like Trump has always let you see things that usually people would hide. So like he's just doing corruption out in the open. He like, for example, just sells access to his Truth Social posts, which many would regard as insider trading, like obviously corrupt and illegal, but he just lets you see it. He just does it out in the public. So he lets you see things that normally people would hide, which kind of weirdly diffuses it and makes it like not as big of a news story as it normally would be. But the reflecting pool is a case where he's trying to hide something that we can all see.
Right.
And so that's the reversal, the weird reversal where it's like stuff that theoretically should be a much bigger deal, like the president just selling access to insider information that moves markets, is weirdly not as big of a story as hiding something that we can all see with our eyes, which is that the reflecting pool is puke green, and he's
It's
claiming
awful.
that, yeah.
There was one last detail that you just at some point I feel like AI is writing the news and not
Yeah.
trying very hard.
Yeah.
One of the contracting companies is called Greenwater.
Yes. Yeah.
So again, the problem, ultimately, if you said what was one of the bigger problems, like the water's green, they hired a company called Greenwater. There's a link in the chat, Sal.
Yeah.
I just want you to click on it, and I want you to slide down to the first photo of a person.
Okay.
And I just want to hear your reaction when I tell you this is what I think Sal Manella looks like.
Wait. Scrolling down.
Right?
That's definitely Salvatore Angelo Manella.
Yeah. There is a photo of the
There's a photo
man
of the
who
guy
leads the
wrote-
investment trust as the ultimate owner of the company, Greenwater Services, who in my head is what Salvatore Manella. looks like.
Salvatore Angelo Manella. He runs Greenwater Services. He looks like, by the way, like 5 uncles that I have, just so you know.
Yeah. Oh, the one last thing I'm going to say is the fact that there was no video evidence. They couldn't even, again, this administration uses memes, uses AI more than anybody, but even they couldn't get AI to fake somebody doing the thing they said was happening.
Yes. Well, their
Like even
AI is-
Claude,
Yeah.
Claude was like, we can make you look jacked and like a Jack Jesus. We can't. What you're saying happened is beyond our capacity.
capability of AI.
It would use all the water in the country.
It's like you're asking us to fold an umbrella, like what you're doing.
All right, so this was our first effort.
Yeah.
What is it again?
A closer look out of office.
Okay, gotcha. I feel like it'll be interesting to hear your feedback from anybody who was like, I'm going to try this. I bet a lot of people are going to be like, I could use a little less duck skull.
I disagree. We're going to find out. Let us know how
and
much.
I
if you
will.
thought-
I'm gonna hop over to the Lonely Island podcast now and try to get them to do a Duck Skull parody song to the tune of DuckTales.
Okay. Beautiful. Fantastic. Okay.
You know what?
Thank you for watching.
Please, can the last thing just be a closer look out of office and then somebody sing Duck Skulls to the tune of DuckTales? All right. Bye, everybody.
Duck skulls. Woo!